Welcome back to part 2. If you missed the first one, link in the description below. In the second part, me and Evgeny, we are gonna be installing Hella auxiliary lights. This is the bracket that will hold the lights. It's handmade by my father-in-law. Thanks to him, he did a great job of manufacturing this bracket. Hella 700 FF. I just like the look of them. They're big, they're transparent. In my opinion, looks good. So let's get started. First, we're gonna mark where we wanna drill the holes, and we're gonna be using pretty long bolts that will hold the bracket to the front of the car. Okay, drilling the holes here. Next, I will be translating myself here. So the whole system is gonna work like this. The bracket is gonna be attached to the front of the car using those long bolts, some nuts and black spacers. Later on I will explain why do we need the spacers. And we need to drill the front bumper cover, the styrofoam reinforcement, and the actual reinforcement bar. From the first part, we did remove the bumper cover, so just to give you kind of heads up, this is what needs to be drilled, the bumper cover. This styrofoam reinforcements, it's pretty light but very solid. And also we drill this reinforcement metal bar. Now I'm going to explain why do we need the spacers. The spacers will actually lean against the styrofoam absorber. They will be independent of the actual bumper cover. So we're gonna cut a round, bigger cut so the spacers fit, and the bumper cover will be independent of the bracket installed on the car. And later on you will see how it's gonna look like once we do the job. We're gonna continue ahead. We're gonna now drill the front bumper cover. So we're gonna do some first marks where the holes needs to be drilled. 30 centimeter drill bit that will penetrate the whole bumper cover, the absorber and the reinforcement. And we need to drill at a right angle, so it's not off to the sides or up or down. That's what I'm trying to do here, my best. Now we came up with an idea to just heat up a socket and gently make an indentation in the bumper cover, and then carefully using a blade to cut out the bumper cover, because we want to save the actual styrofoam, because the spacers will be leaning and bolted against the styrofoam, and this way now the bumper cover is independent of the bracket installed. So that's how we achieved this result here.
Давай еще одну. А здесь я не попал, здесь. А где эти?
What's nice about these nuts that they bite at the back. See, they have kind of teeth, so you don't need to hold them from the back, since they're gonna bite into the metal.
Ставить сюда, а потом прикручивать кронштейн уже с решеткой. Он говорил, она говорит, вот мне эти гайки помогли.
Let's take a look at the back. We've used 2 nuts on each bolt, just for security. So it's nice and tight, the bracket is in place, and now we can continue onwards. Now I bought beforehand some other H3 Phillips bulbs, just to make the light a little bit whiter. And I have the same bulbs in my low beams. My headlights are not xenon, it's just regular halogen. This way it's gonna match to my actual low beams. So unscrew one screw and just pry out the actual light from its housing, and then it's pretty simple. There is two connectors, disconnect and replace the bulb. So the lights are in place, the bulbs I have replaced to give me that whiter look on the road. And next we're gonna be working on the wiring. That's a lot of work to do. This is how it's attached to the actual bracket. Now the wiring is gonna go on the passenger side of the engine bay, through the firewall, and it's gonna go through this rubber plug that's on the car, and we'll need to cut it with some cutters or scissors. This is the plug, and this is the first wall on the firewall. To get access to the second wall, we have to remove the whole cowl, the black plastic piece, and we were lucky that we didn't have to remove it completely, just prying out one side. And you can see now the second wall, there is another rubber plug that we will need to cut through. So we have two walls to get into the interior of the car over here. Once we get into the interior, we've already removed the glove box. Just a couple of screws and two bolts to remove it. It's already been done. So what we did is extended the wires from the lights. They're also in a protective loom. We're making some holes in the mesh grill to thread the wires through onto the car. Just like that. And the wire will be attached to this existing one.
Alright.
The wire is well protected in a protective loom, and now we're gonna run the wire from here into the interior. For now we can reinstall the actual grill. And of course we're not gonna be too detailed in this video because otherwise it's gonna be too long. I'm just showing you the most important parts of it. I installed these lights not because I lack light on the road, it's more because of the looks. Personally, I love the look of the extra lights on the cross country. It gives it this aggressive look on the road. Also, it reminds me of Sweden and Scandinavia, where it's very common and popular to add some lights on the front of the car, not just on Volvos. So it's personal opinion, and some will hate, some will love it. Now we're gonna extend the wire and we're gonna run it along the passenger side in the engine bay. That's what we did. It runs all the way over here. We zip tied it where possible, well protected, well hidden. And now we're gonna run it through the two walls on the firewall. And we've made a cut, and now we're gonna thread the wire through the first wall. The passenger headlight can be reinstalled. We don't need this space anymore for work. Now we're going to show you where the wire is going through the second wall. So you can see we passed the first one and the second one. And behind the firewall on the interior, we had to disconnect all connectors from the central electronic module, CEM, and slide it away, remove some insulation here, soundproofing, and we've threaded the cable over here. Now this wire is gonna run along the footwell of the passenger side carpet. Reconnecting the SAM connectors, and now I'm gonna thread the wire behind the carpet on the passenger footwell, and then we can reinstall the glove box. On the left side behind the carpet, where the left foot will rest, if you bend the carpet away, this is where the AC drain is. So we want to make sure that the wire is not going to pinch it, because otherwise it's going to block the water from draining onto the ground when the AC is on. And it's over here, you can see the rubber hose. So it's all good, it's not going to be pinched and block the drain of the air conditioning. Reinstalling the glove box, I'm gonna reconnect all connectors, and there is 2 bolts inside 8mm socket, and there is some Torx all around the perimeter of the glove box, and then at the bottom there is like another panel. Just reconnect the connector and a couple of more Torx screws. The location of the switch is gonna be on the steering column. So we've unscrewed the 3 Torx screws and we've removed the bottom panel. It's not hard, just a couple of clips there. And we need to drill a hole to install this switch. I had to buy a special tool to do that. This is the original switch that comes in the kit with the lights. So I'm using this tool to make a clean hole in the steering column cover.
Шикарная.
Смотри, как чисто. Вообще. And that's a pretty clean cut. Now we're gonna install the switch into this hole. The location of the switch is a personal choice, so you can install it anywhere you like. In my opinion, it's out of view from the passengers, and also when you're driving you don't see it, and it's on your left on the steering column. So I'm pretty happy with the location. We're using the relay from the kit. This switch will close the circuit, the 12 volts that supply the relay. Once you turn on the switch, the relay will activate and provide power to the lights on the yellow and the red wire. Pretty simple setup, which works well, and it's pretty reliable. We're gonna get power from this location. If you bend the carpet away, there is a plug, so these wires go to your cigarette lighter in the center console, and it's fused. So we're gonna power the lights from this location. We've connected the wires, we've soldered it properly, and now we're gonna just insulate it, and we're good to go. The wire to the switch, it's a pretty long wire. We've covered it in this felt-like material. This will eliminate any unwanted rattles. So we're gonna thread it through the center console, on the driver's side footwell, and up on the steering column. Let's look on the other side. We've threaded the wire over here, and we've zip tied it all the way in the footwell, and now we're gonna zip tie it to the existing wiring on the steering column, and we're gonna connect the switch and reinstall the cover. A quick check to make sure nothing is in the way. Looks good. And now we can reconnect this wire to the switch and reinstall the steering column cover at the bottom and on the top. This will be now the very first try to turn on the auxiliary lights. I'm gonna power on the car. I'm gonna turn on the switch, and yes, the lights come up. Well done, pretty happy here.
Кнопка.
We can now start reassembling the rest of the pieces. These panels, we're gonna clean them, and they just click in. There's a couple of clips, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. We're getting rid of any traces that these panels were removed, any fingerprints. I like when it's all nice and clean. I'm using here just a quick detailer for your exterior and the clean microfiber towel. Also cleaning the steering column. So let's take a closer look here. The lights are yet to be adjusted properly, and I will be adjusting them like I'm driving in low beam. I want to make sure I don't blind anyone, and you need to check your regulations before installing extra lights, because every country or jurisdiction is different, so make sure before you install. So it works pretty good. Later on I found a problem. Because the lights are pretty big, heavy, and the bracket is pretty thin, there is this vibration happening. So what happens, you're driving, the light is vibrating on the surface, and it's very annoying, and I had to look for a solution. So you can see here, I'm giving you an example. When I'm driving, you can see how the lights vibrate on the surface of the road, and you can see it even more right now. This is a completely dark street here, dark off-road, and that was one of the reasons why the video was delayed, because I had to do a little research how to get rid of this problem. And actually I found a solution, and it's pretty common that when you install big lights, you need some extra brackets on top. Here's another example how the light is vibrating. So, thanks to my father-in-law again, he provided me with this nuts and bolts, and he handmade those aluminum bendable brackets, which can be bent to my likes. They're painted in black, and what you see, the scratch marks, I've used some pliers, so I'll need to repaint them once they're installed. And yes, I had to drill the grill, I had to drill the housing on the light, and waterproof from inside to make sure there's no water going in. So that's again one of the reasons why the video got delayed. So sorry about it, it took so long after the initial video that came out, but the result was 100% eliminating this problem of the vibrating lights on the bracket. Here's another look of the top brackets installed. Doesn't look too bad. They still need to be painted because I've scratched them a bit. And you know, from a distance it looks pretty good. If you look closely, yeah, it's not the best. Eventually, if I want, I can always remove the lights and the bracket and just forget about it. But here's an example for you how it looks, how I did it. If you want, go ahead and do something similar. Now the kit comes with those covers. When the lights are not in use, you can put the covers on, and they will be protected from any stones flying on the road. This completes the installation of the Hella lights on my XC70. Me and Evgeny, we had such a great time working on the car and sharing our passion about Volvo. Thanks for watching. I hope that you like this video. Please comment below your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Please subscribe and enjoy the rest of the video. Bye bye guys.